Hello, welcome to another edition, I guess, of Stormgate Snapshots, where we get to talk to some of the developers about Stormgate. And this time, I know I say this all the time, but we got someone very special here. The first version, the alpha version of the terrain editor came out a couple weeks ago, and I went to Gerald, I went to Frostgiant, and I said, look, I want to talk to the guy behind this, because really cool stuff is happening behind the scenes. And they put me in touch with James, and James, you've taken some time away from your busy job helping everyone with all the editor things. It's really fun seeing you with all your insight into the terrain editor channel of the Discord. But before we go, first of all, thank you for joining me here. But before we go and dive into all this cool editor stuff, who is James Farris?
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm one of the lead software engineers at Frostgiant, and yeah, in my role, I get an opportunity to work at a lot of different things across the game. The editor is one of the things that I've had the opportunity to work on that I'm really super excited about. Um, I started in with RTS back in Warcraft 3, back when I was younger, and the world editor for me was just one of the greatest things I'd ever seen as a kid. And I just loved being able to very easily get in there and like paint down terrain and place doodads and kind of set up these little scenarios. And then I discovered that I could build custom units and I could eventually write triggers. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing in the world. And it basically set me off on my career. Really, I fell in love with it. I got into game dev because of it, and then I for my whole career I've been building tools. And really, it was like this bug that the world editor had kind of that I gotten in me that just made me excited to build tools. And I discovered I wasn't really the most creative person, but I did love helping other creative people to really exercise their creativity and remove blockers, get things out of the way so they could just build the best things that they could build. And yeah, that's been my passion for the last 10 or so years. And I've put myself, even as of recently as of like 5 years ago, I think, within that period of time, I've been working on a Warcraft 3 map that I've just poured in like thousands of hours into. And so it was a unique opportunity where my skill set kind of came in, and I also had just a ton of knowledge from the map making community for Warcraft 3 that it kind of all came together. And it's been a dream of mine to be able to build something like this and to get into the community's hands and see what kind of cool things they're able to build. Um, and already, we're seeing just like tons of really cool maps, and people are, kindred spirits of mine going in and trying to like break things and try to dig deeper and figure out what they can do. I mean, this was supposed to be the terrain editor alpha, but they've already been handwriting triggers and modifying data and building their own units and abilities and things like that. And yeah, so it's every day I'm going into the Discord just like excited to see what new thing somebody's discovered. Um, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, so James, talking about that hacking process, because as you said, this was supposed to be a terrain editor. We were supposed to be able to make melee maps, not even put storm gates in there, and that fell out the window very fast. But what
Right.
has surprised you the most then about all the stuff that people have been able to do with this editor that they're really not supposed to at this point?
Well, I think one of the things that surprised me the most is just the data behind a trigger, for instance. It's
Hmm.
just so complex, and it's like it would take an hour to explain how the system works behind the scenes. And they were able to figure it out quickly and start building really cool stuff with it with basically little oversight. And that's the community members getting together, sharing what they've learned. They're already building tools to help them in the areas where the editor hasn't we haven't released those tools yet for the editor, and they're already making their own things to make those things happen. They figured out storm gates really quickly, and the ability to place them and use them. It's super cool. Yeah, I mean, and then on top of that, just a lot of the maps that I'm seeing too are just they're gorgeous to look at. I mean, I think they've done a fantastic job, artifying the maps and making them look really cool. And they've also opened up things that like free for alls and 2v2s and 3v3s and things like that. And um, yeah, so I'm super happy with the community's ability to just get in there and make things work. It's super cool.
Yeah, I think it was probably about 4 hours, maybe even less, after the editor alpha went live when I started seeing free for all lobbies getting hosted. So, yeah, they dove into
Yeah.
that very quickly, and it was a
super
really,
quick.
really cool to see. But talking about this editor, right? Because you said, look, I got started with War 3. I don't know if you've had how much experience you had with the Galaxy and StarCraft 2, but you've been really deep into this editor idea for a long time now, which clearly you're learning some things from how those editors work. What are your, I guess, your big inspirations in terms of how to develop this editor in such a way that it is good, it is useful, it is layperson approachable as you get this chance to go and make one for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think accessibility is certainly one of the big pillars for the editor. Like, um, I like to look at it as like we want to make it accessible, yet we want it to be powerful. Like, there are super users who are going to come in and make a Dota, right? Like, that's we want to empower them to do that. We want to give them the tools to do that. Without a ton of hard work, right? I mean, it's hard work, but it's the job of the tools is to make that easier, right? But at the same time, you can get to this problem where the data is so complex and the tools are so complex that it becomes unapproachable, right? I think the world editor, back in the day, just really had a fantastic balance there, where it was easy for somebody to come in. Kind of, there was like this layer approach almost. Like people would come in and they would play around with the terrain because that's the first thing they see, right? Like let's paint some cliffs down and let's like put some textures down and oh cool, there's doodads, and then they kind of get to experience the editor introduced to the features of the editor kind of at their own pace, really. And then they can, play around with that for a while, and then they'll find the data editor and like, oh, cool, there's a unit editor. I can go and make my own custom unit and my own abilities and things. And I mean, this is partly how I was introduced to the editor as well. So I mean, I see that how that plays out, and then eventually you discover triggers and then like the possibilities are endless, right? And then even beyond that is script, and now you're like really getting into it and you are able to do things that the triggers weren't able to do, and your productivity and writing, logic for the game just starts to balloon, so I think that kind of approach to it is something that's really stuck with me. But at the same time, that's a 20-year-old editor. We've gone, leaps and bounds in tools development over the last 20 years. I mean, you can look at something like Unity or Unreal and see there's just features there that have been developed to improve productivity immensely. And so I think pulling in those types of features, I mean, for example, like dockable tabs, right? Like that's something that is it feels like a foundational piece because it is. It seems, like, oh well, how useful is that? Well, laying out the things that you want to see in the way that you want to see them is a way for you to improve your productivity, right? Like it's a big deal. So um yeah, I'd say things like that are really like get me excited, right? And I think them, looking at the Galaxy editor and having some experience with that, they there were leaps and bounds with the trigger system, for instance. Like they really went like crazy with that and introduced way more functionality, way more tools to make it easier to work with. And so it's taking the best of editors like that. It's taking the looking at the accessibility and ease of use of something like the World Editor, and it's coming together to bring with the modern features in to build something new that still feels familiar, easy for people to get into, and just to build the best things that they can build.
Gotcha. Talking about, by the way, obviously Galaxy Editor, World Editor. You did have at times the opportunity, and actually you do have the opportunity in those custom editors to go and import custom assets. I mean, I think right now you have StarCraft Evo and you're bringing in like custom models for Brood War units and all of those things, a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, Dota, there's a bunch of stuff there, but it does come with its issues. Very notably right now, there's this issue where toxic code is getting injected into the StarCraft 2 arcade. And it sounds like actually, I think news today is that they're letting people upload again. Finally. Where do
Very
you,
good.
because obviously, right, well, I'm not going to say obviously, but right now in the Stormgate editor, there's no way to add custom assets at the moment. You've got to use what you have. Where do you stand on that? Adding stuff in versus making sure it's, I guess, somewhat safe.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately the vision is that we would allow people to import assets. I think that's something that um, personally I've found very valuable in the many many custom games that I've played. I love seeing people put in their own custom assets. I had custom assets in my map. They were not infringing on any copyright or IP or anything like that, but they were just little things that I was able to put together in Blender that just helped kind of sell some aspects of the game, and I think the one of the beauties of these other RTS editors is that they come with a whole bunch of assets for free to use, right? Like you just have a Lancer ready to go and you can start using that, and you have a log and you have a fence and you can just, have at it. But at some point in time, the creativity you want to go outside of the bounds there and bring in your own stuff, so personally that's something I'd like to see. It's something that we've been trying to figure out how to make that work, and certainly with the the kind of the latest news that's been going on, we've been really thinking about it in the sense of like how can we be safe with this. Um, and so it's very important to us that we are protecting the community, with something things that are appropriate for the game, and at the same time, we want to provide that flexibility to be able to really be creative, And so we're working on that. We're working on how we're going to make that happen. We are using Unreal, and so there are ways for people to let's say like you know generate an asset pack that they could include with their map. I mean, that's kind of like along the lines of what we're trying to explore as kind of like a plugin, almost. And so yeah, we're thinking about it. Where it's something that's exciting to us, and yeah, and we're also very aware of the potential harm that can come from that, and we want to make sure that we are able to um, not limit the flexibility if we can, and allow that sort of thing to happen. Yeah.
Gotcha. Makes sense. It's always a question, right? It's always this difficulty of how much freedom do you want to give people and how much freedom do you want people to have, because they're going to abuse that freedom if you give it to them
Yeah.
at some points.
Yeah.
But going back actually, because we were talking about it's been 20 years since the world editor was out with Warcraft 3. What's something that either is in the Stormgate editor right now or you're planning on adding in that you've always wanted to have in an editor, but you really haven't seen it, haven't had a chance, and you want to add to this one?
Yeah, and I could speak to what I wanna add for sure. Yeah, I think for me, one of the beauties of, you know, giving these tools out to the community is that they get to, collaborate with us basically. They get to build Stormgate with us, they get to go in and just express creativity, make awesome new things, and then everybody gets to benefit from that. Everybody gets to enjoy the maps and enjoy playing them, and people will learn new skills through this. I think that's really awesome. So it's almost like an extension of Stormgate is the user generated content community, right? The UGC community. And so I think one of the things that I'm really excited about, and with this editor been planning for some time now, is I would love to introduce the ability for people to extend the editor themselves. Like um, super users, like power users, want to go in and again they want to work fast and they want to work faster, right? And they want to build their own tools that I don't know, procedurally generate a whole bunch of terrain or something. And in previous editors, you'd have to build those tools externally, and you'd have to you know uh, run them on the data and then load that data in. Right, there was like this disconnect, and I would love to be to get to a place where the editor could be extended by the community, and that looks probably again something like plugins that the editor would then load, and you could write your own specialized unit editor or a specialized ability editor, or maybe you want to add a measuring tool in, that kind of thing. And we can only move as fast as we can move, and the community, as we've already seen, is capable of moving very quickly and very excited about certain features that they want. And I want to give them the opportunity to build those things too if they want to do that. So it's modding. The modding tools is really kind of the thing I'm excited about bringing at some point. Yeah, so that's one of the things. Yeah, I think there's a lot of really great features that our internal tools have that haven't been released yet. That's really exciting. Like, I mean, I think the trigger editor is one that I'm really looking forward to getting out and getting into the hands of people so they can start using that, and they don't have to hand edit JSON files anymore. I feel for them. Uh, but yeah, things like that I'm very excited about doing as well.
Plus dockable tabs.
Yeah.
But that is actually something that I think is rather relevant here is that this is eventually, per what Frost Giant's been saying, what we've been hearing in the media, this is eventually going to be we are effectively going to get the tool once you clean it up and make it ready to go that Frost Giant is using to develop the game. Obviously, getting the hands of developers who have been trained on the tool and they've been working on things is a lot different from giving it in the hands of Joe Schmo, who may be a super user, sure, but doesn't necessarily have that, doesn't necessarily have the training available to them as well. What's the process been like at taking this editor that is, again, being used internally and making it ready for public release?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly part of the challenge. I mean, I think that's kind of touches on the accessibility aspect of it. I mean, developers who are familiar with these kinds of internal tools are very comfortable working in tool sets that have a lot of really rough edges, and getting familiar with workarounds and things that I would say are not appropriate to be releasing to the public. And so it's been a matter of looking at each of these things and trying to evaluate, like, okay, really challenging, like, the idea, like, is this something that the community would understand? I mean, really, like, the motivation also behind building these tools is, like, we are the first UGC, right? Like, we're the first user generated content for the game, right? I like to look at the tools as like, we're no different than the community in building these things, and if they have the same tools that we have, they could build the same things we build, right? And that's kind of a lot of the motivation behind it. Like, ultimately, our goal is to release all the things that our devs, all the tools that our devs are using to build Stormgate, to build the co-op, to build campaign, Team Mayhem, like all these things that they have available to them, um, to make that available to the community as well. And a lot of it is complex. Like, honestly, the trigger system is a very complex set of tooling, and that's one of the things that I really want to put in a lot of give it its due diligence, really, and make sure that what we're releasing is going to be clean, and it's going to make sense, and it's going to lower that barrier of entry, right? And all those rough edges will raise that barrier of entry, and so it's defeating the purpose of making it really accessible and usable. There's also some features that even our internal tools are missing that I would like to bring in, along with those tools, improvements that we're making, and every improvement that we make to the editor that the community gets to take advantage of. I mean, those are improvements that our team is taking advantage of as well. So it's a win-win whenever we can spend a little bit of extra time and really bring out the best in the tool that we're creating. So.
So, speaking of that, speaking of this process of improvement and getting things to the community, getting things to your own developers, what is this process of pushing things out? Are we talking on the lines of there's going to be a game client update, then you get the editor updates? Are we talking off client updates? How are you planning on looking at this?
Yeah, I mean, for us, the editor is a core pillar. It's something that we are planning on, releasing improvements over time. Like, for instance, the features that the community's been looking for, like the data editor and the trigger editor. Those are things that'll be coming in future releases. Um, and yeah, we currently, the plan is that we're going to be releasing them alongside the game updates. Personally, I would like to see those updates come more frequently. I'd like to be able to fix bugs quickly and get those new features out quicker. And so we're going to work on that. But ultimately, the current plan is that we're going to be releasing them with regular game updates.
All right.
Yeah.
YouTube in the comments. That does not mean that's a promise they're going to come faster. Just to be clear, James is not saying that.
I want that. That's what I want.
It's a
That's
desire.
my desire.
Honestly, based how solid the release has been thus far, I wouldn't be surprised if we were able to get there. Just y'all have been doing really really good work. But I do want to talk about features a little bit, staying in that realm a little bit longer, and this ability to make it easier for people to work on the maps. One question I think is, as we're in 2025, some of these map projects get bigger. Is how do you envision people working on maps together? It's one thing to be James Farris spending 2,000 hours on a Warcraft mod that he's very excited about, and it's another to say I have 5 friends and we all want to make this custom map together. Do you envision, or how do you envision that working?
Well, I would look again at like how our team works on things. You know,
Okay.
we have we share the map source. We have it in a repository that's in a shared space where people can pull that down. They can make changes and they can submit it up. Um, I think that it's worked great. I mean, there's a lot of fantastic tools for this. I think when you're wanting to build a map project that you're collaborating with multiple people on, that's a lot of heavy tooling to make something like that
Hmm.
happen. And you know, we lean on you know, source control software to help make that happen. Um, and that's how I would recommend doing it personally. I mean,
Okay.
that's even my map project. I have it on a repo, and I have you know, I push updates to it, and it's super convenient too for the fact that I can be working on it on, you know, on my desktop, and then I can just move to the living room on the laptop and pull down the latest and start working on it. And you know, I as a developer, that's something that's very familiar to me and to the team. But I think there's some very simple ones out there. Like GitHub is a fantastic, you know, fantastic tool for working and collaborating on maps. And even some of our community members are setting up repos for their custom maps so they can share them and work on them together. Um, yeah.
You say that as if I have not like irreparably bricked multiples of my repos. So don't be me. But yeah,
The beauty of revision history, right? You can just go back and
yeah, and that's
yeah,
great when it's a tree, not when it's like a
yeah.
bush, a forest going in and out of itself. And yeah, it's a bunch of vines. My repos are vines, James. They're not trees with branches. It's bad. Uh,
Well, one of the beautiful things is that all of our data formats are all JSON, so
there we
it's
go.
very easily readable.
Hmm.
It's very easily mergeable. So it you know, and it's all very discoverable. As we've seen, you know, people are breaking these things open and they're
Hmm.
learning tons about the game because it's all readily available, rather than having some binary format that you have to reverse engineer to figure out how
Hmm.
to parse it. I mean, our goal was again to really put the power in the community's hands and you know, give them the tools that they need to build what we're building, and that is transparency, you know, as part of that. So
Talk about parsing JSON, giving people community or giving community tools. One thing that StarCraft editor does not let you do, and I know like say the Dota editor does, is bringing in real time data into a custom map. So for example, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna run a map, and I want to pull like continuously pull data from a website to live track what units are being made and then change their costs, something like that. Obvious or StarCraft, I think didn't do that because they're like, okay, this is a hacking issue potentially. This is a vulnerability that we just don't want to run into. I, for example, personally would love that because I want to run some events that let me do things like that. Where do y'all stand on that side of bringing in real time external things?
well, that's something that I also am excited about. I love that idea, being able to do something like an HTTP request or something to, you
Yeah.
know, get data from a server and pull it into the live game. There's tons of maps that, you know, want to show leaderboards that
Hmm.
are real time leaderboards or get the latest data, you know, things like that. Um, it's something that we haven't explored really enough to kind of give any satisfying answer on, but it is something that I'm personally excited about and something I'd love to see in Stormgate as well.
Awesome. I have plans in my head about events that I want to run that require some of that. So I'm holding you to it, James. Some point in the future, we're gonna make that happen. But uh looking further afield, actually, sorry. I do have one more question for you. Rick Mary did ask me to ask you about the pathfinding complexity limit. That's a lot of words that I'm not sure I totally understand, but I was told to ask you. So pathfinding complexity limit.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the beauties of Snowplay is that it's highly performant, right?
Hmm.
It's able to run incredibly fast and deal with tons of units moving around, and it's just it's a beauty behind the scenes there. But performance comes at a cost, and part of that cost is building the pathing meshes that we have in the game in order for the units to navigate around. And there is a fixed limit at this point. We are, you know, we're aware of the challenges that that presents. Um, there are tools that are coming that are going to help alleviate some of the kind of the pressure of you know, not going over budget with the pathing meshes. Um, And yeah, there's plenty there for us to do to improve things, and we're going to be working towards that. I mean, I know there's people who want to make these huge giant maps, and they're running out of collision budget, a pathing budget. So it's going to be a matter of us providing tools to reduce that the kind of the overhead there. And we're exploring options beyond what we're going to be providing in the next release, which is the path painting tool, which lets them really have a finer control over where what parts of the map are pathable and aren't pathable, and that will reduce the overall cost of those pathing meshes when you can control that more easily.
Gotcha. And already invalidating some of these. I think Jadesimus on Discord has made his own custom pathing painting tool. So you're putting
Yeah,
people out of jobs, James, I guess is what I'm hearing
yeah.
here. Good job.
I,
Congratulations.
I
But
sent him a message. I
there we
said, I'm
go.
sorry.
I'm sorry, Jadesimus. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
But okay,
Your tool
so
looks cool.
it is, yeah, it's impressive he was able to make it, but I'm sure people are going to be very happy to have that built in rather than having to, go custom. I think he was like using Photoshop and like custom grid painting, and it was rather in depth. But looking more a little bit towards the future here, obviously one part of getting custom maps out is being able to make them. And the other part is how you interact with them, whether it's via arcade, custom map browser, potentially maybe enabling matchmaking for custom maps if they're big enough or whatever that would entail. So it'd be could you be awesome, I guess, if you could talk about future plans for how Frost Giant plans to enable people to interact with these maps in the future.
Yeah, so this is another kind of area that we're still
Hmm.
just exploring, and we're trying to figure out exactly how we want to do things. Um, there's I think looking at like Warcraft 3 is kind of like what we have now. Peer-to-peer map
Hmm.
sharing is kind of the easiest initial step that we could take in order to allow people to share their custom maps. But we do have plans. We want to build on top of that. We want to go further. We want discoverability to be addressed. I think that's part of the problem that Warcraft 3 had, is you are only able to see what other people are hosting, for instance, right? And StarCraft 2 solved that with the arcade, and they put in a bunch of work to make that possible. And we're excited about introducing some things like that as well in the future. We're still exploring how that's going to look and how that's going to work. Um, but we are, inspired by a lot of the new, like modding communities that have come up in the last, well, certainly since Warcraft 3 and even since StarCraft 2, for like mod hosting,
Hmm.
across the board. And there's a lot of cool things there. I mean, I love the concept of having something like a map project that you can kind of maintain yourself. You can upload versions to that map project. People can discover that, and they can just download the latest version and play it. Things like that. I think there's a lot of great steps that StarCraft 2 took in order to get to that place, and we're trying to evaluate where we want to go with it, and what we want to do. So, but it's on our minds. It's something that we're certainly planning for, and we're working towards.
Steam Workshop integration in there in some way,
Maybe,
maybe.
maybe.
Fair enough. I'm just excited because one of the big benefits of 0.6 is there's not going to be an arcade, to my knowledge. But giving everyone access to the editor means that as long as someone hosts a map, you can play the map, then you have the map, and you can
Yeah.
download that. Question for you, though, about that. What is the process like to have maps actually respect their names? Because right now, if you're hosting a custom map, it's custom underscore 4AB00DEF or whatever. And that's obviously
Right.
that's kind of difficult to navigate.
Yeah. Certainly.
What's the process of at least making the map browser respect map names?
Well, that's just yeah, it's a feature we're going to be
Okay.
implementing, and it's something that we certainly want to do. That was part of the alpha
Hmm.
aspect
Yeah.
of the terrain editor, right? There's certain things that we need to stand up in order for that to work, and also another example of vulnerability, right? Like people can put horrible stuff into their map names, and now
Hmm.
that's displayed in the browser, right? So I mean, we're thinking through these things also from that perspective of vulnerability. But yeah, it's certainly on our list. It's something that we're wanting to address as soon as we can. Yeah.
But not 0.6 is what I'm hearing.
Uh, we're addressing it as soon as we can.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't want to like pull axe you here on a question like that. I mean, it's gonna happen when it happens. But
To happen.
sorry.
I'm excited for it to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I literally right now I have a notepad file of 4AB, like what the four first like six characters are and what it relates to. for running tournaments,
Yeah.
which is definitely viable for now. I think we're going to try to stand something up maybe on Stormgate Nexus that has those lists, so it makes life a little bit easier for people. But
Just know that I see the pain, I understand the
okay,
pain, and it's unfortunate, and
yeah,
I want us to, address that as soon as we can, for sure.
yeah, working on it certainly. Uh,
Working on it.
Looking at things a little bit, I guess maybe further afield, you talked about deep experience with Word Editor, with Galaxy Editor, things like that. What's your favorite arcade map?
Mm. Right now, it's Direct Strike. I mean,
Okay,
without a doubt. Yeah,
but
playing tons of Direct Strike.
Warcraft 3 Direct Strike or StarCraft 2 Direct Strike?
The Warcraft 3 one. I
Okay.
cannot leave Warcraft 3. It is stuck. I'm stuck to it. Like, I can't. I still play Warcraft 3 like once a week at least. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good games there. I play less StarCraft 2 than I do Warcraft 3. But yeah, I have buddies for 20 years. We've been playing Warcraft 3 together, and when we hang out, that's what we do. If we just jump on Discord and we play a few rounds of Survival Chaos or Direct Strike or some random tower defense just for fun. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see a Direct Strike in Stormgate. Like yeah, that's the North Star, right? Like being able to build things like that and really do some cool things. And I think we're not far off from it, honestly. So um, and the community is moving so quickly that they may get there before I, even get the rest of the editors
I
out.
mean,
But
people have already
uh,
made a unit tester, which is
I know.
probably 80% of Direct Strike as it
Yeah,
stands.
I mean, more or less, right? Yeah, yeah.
So,
But there's a lot of really awesome features in Direct Strike. Custom UI is one of
mhm.
them. I mean, I think I would love to get to a place where we can do custom UI as well. We have some of the foundational pieces in, and it's just a matter of making that easier to use. I mean, just like a trigger, a widget tree is a UI tree is ginormous, and if you don't have a good way to edit it, then it's tedious and painful. And
Mhm.
so yeah, those are the kind of features like that. I think those really awesome maps have that just kind of take them to the next level. And really excited about being able to open that kind of functionality up to Stormgate custom maps as well.
Talking about that custom map functionality, and this is something that is StarCraft 2 specific, not necessarily Warcraft 3, but one of the really cool things they added, I think in Legacy of the Void, I'm pretty sure of my timeline there, was this ability to have map extension mods. So you can go apply big game hunters or XYZ. It's used a lot in competitive StarCraft to make sure that you have the right UI and things to any map. So you load up the map and then you load up the map extension. Extension. Obviously, that's not here now. That would take a lot more work. But where do y'all stand on some system like that?
I love it. I mean, it's kind of along the same vein as like the map editor extensions idea.
Hmm. Okay.
I think anything that we can do for the community to be able to, make Stormgate their own, I think is something that's really exciting. It's not something that we've been planning around at this point, but I think it's something that would be really cool to introduce as well. Yeah. And
Gotcha. Yeah.
beyond that too, just to kind of go further kind of in
Hmm.
that direction a bit as well is, we would love to support the like sharing of mods for your maps as well. So you can build some functionality, maybe you build some set of triggers. Maybe it's a tower defense mod that makes it really easy for you to make tower defenses, and you can pull that into your map, and
Okay.
that could be shared. It's kind of a lot like what StarCraft 2 has with their mods. So that's something that we're looking at as well, and I think those kind of go hand in hand a bit. So yeah, something that we're excited about. It's a bit down the ways for us, but it is something that I'm personally very excited about.
Makes sense. And final question for you, James, unless we come up with something in the next 2 minutes. In early releases, early previews of the map editor that we saw, I think last year, there was a little name in the upper left corner of the thing that called it Get It. And then I talked with Chris Culp, I think it was Chris Culp. Later on, he said, no, it's not called Get It. Where are you getting this? It's not called Get It. We don't call it Get It. I figured that there is no one better to get clarification on it than what we have down here. We can see you are pointing. Anyway, you're the map editor guy.
Right.
Does it have a name?
It, yet it was like the OG name for the editor, and it hasn't carried forward to this editor, but maybe it should. Yeah, I think it probably should. Right. It makes a lot of sense. I hadn't even thought about it until you brought it up. I think that's something we really need to think about. Let's take it very seriously. It's a
Hmm.
very serious. Important topic. Yeah. I don't know what happened to it. I guess it vanished in the new editor. It didn't come over, but it should be there. I'll double check on that. I'll make sure. I'm gonna take a note and I'll go check
All
on
right.
that.
Coming to you in zero point 0.6 or zero point 0.7, it gets its name back. You get it?
Gets its name
I
back.
like
That's the
get it.
big feature of it. That's what everybody wants. It
Oh
may
yeah.
take me 3 months to put that in, but
No,
that's what I'm gonna be working on. Yeah.
it's not triggers, it's not, who cares about those,
Who
the
cares about
name.
that? Yeah.
It truly matters. But James, this has been awesome. I am so excited to see how things are going to go, what people are going to, it's so much fun to go into the custom map section and the terrain editor. And I'm not deep into custom maps. I don't know what a lot of people are, what a lot of this stuff people are saying, but just seeing what they're making or playing games on it is really cool. So I can't wait to see what people are going to make when it becomes more accessible, when you give people more tools. I'm very excited with the future of that one. But for now, thank you so much for joining me here. And by the way, if you have not seen James's 35-minute long introduction, I'll link it down in the video description of how to go about using what is now canonically called Yedit. If you have not gone that and seen that and watched that video, go take a look and then go make the next Dota. That's the story. But James, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been a pleasure. I cannot wait to see what people are going to make with your tool in the future.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.